Hello again, I am Blunty. On my head and in your ears, as a matter of fact, are these. These are the Sennheiser GSP370. They are a cut-down basic version of these, the Sennheiser GSP670, which I previously covered. These lose a lot of the bells and whistles of this, but they also become smaller and lighter as a result. And that was one of my main complaints about this. Even my wireless headset standards, these were pretty bulky and heavy, but everything else about them I really liked. And of course, being Sennheiser, the sound quality is superb. But I don't know if I've ever been so conflicted about a Sennheiser product before. I expected to like them because I've liked almost everything Sennheiser has ever done, with the exception of one shotgun camera microphone they did once, which was just, it didn't sound very good, and it's just But everything else, especially the stuff I put in my head, it sounded brilliant. I got problems with these though, big issues. And I'll get to them if you just do me one favor, and that is go ahead and make sure you're subscribed, make sure that bell is rung so you actually get notified when my videos go live, because you know YouTube don't do that, and it's incredibly frustrating on my end, and it might be frustrating on your end if you want to see my stuff and YouTube aren't showing you my stuff. Also, if you'd be so kind as to throw a comment in the down below area, and if you want to go above and beyond, if you're a regular around here and you have the means and the will to do so, there is an option for extra support in the form of a new Patreon I put up recently. So, back to these. They're Sennheiser, so they sound amazing. And when I say amazing, I don't just mean amazing by gamer headphone standards. I mean they sound excellent. Not quite as good as these. It's tough to put my finger on exactly what the differences are, but I have a slight preference for the sound coming out of these into my skull than I do for these into my skull. But you kind of expect that just by the fact it's a cheaper model. When I say cheaper model, by the way, I don't mean cheap. These are still relatively expensive by gamer headphones standards, but I think they're worth it for the sound quality alone, because there is nothing else I've ever put in my head, barring perhaps these or Sennheiser's wired options, going through a decent output at least, that sound as good as these. They are extremely crisp and clear, and the detail is exquisite, and you'll never hear better in your games than you do with a set of these on your head. Just if one of those people paranoid about, oh, can you hear I hate this question, by the way. Every headphone review I've ever done, can you hear footsteps? No, these are the only headphones on the face of the planet where they're specifically designed to isolate the sound of footsteps and get rid of course you can hear footsteps. I had a real big argument about this with a esports gamer once upon a time. We were both sponsored by the same company. We're on this little meeting trip thing, and I got into a 15-minute long argument with him about how dumb it was to ask, can you hear footsteps? The fit and feel is excellent as well. Like the 670s, they have a sort of hybrid pad where it's sort of leatherette around the outside, but the bit that touches your head is that sort of soft, felty, smooth stuff, which helps prevent that sort of sweatiness you get from the full leatherette ear cups. But it still provides a lot of self-isolation, passive isolation, so everything sounds really punchy and the bass sounds really strong and everything. I don't especially like headphones that do that, because when I'm wearing headphones, I'm very often streaming or something, and if these are very well self-isolated, my own voice sounds to me very, very muffled, and if I can't hear myself properly, it's hard to control the timbre and volume and everything else about my voice on mic. I'm having that issue right now because one of the things that these headphones don't do that these ones do is side tone. That is, I cannot hear the output of this microphone at any level whatsoever in my ear cups, which means potentially I'll have no idea whether it sounds like this, I've got it too close to my nose, or I'm huffing and puffing into the microphone. That's one of the benefits of having side tone, especially for people who aren't used to, don't have good microphone technique, regular gamers, if you will. You've all been in group chats where people have no idea that they're actually sounding like this and puffing into the microphone with no friggin' idea what they're doing. And that's all down to sort of microphone position. But people don't know that unless they can hear themselves. With no side tone on a headset that's designed for a gamer who cares about sound, it's stupid. There is also no noise cancellation on this mic. Well, there is, but it's all passive through the design of the mic. There is no active noise cancellation like there is with these. They haven't fixed the software, so you can still see the options. In fact, let me bring the software up for you here. Boink, there we go. So you can see we get sort of a little bit of a waveform here to see how the microphone's doing, and we've got sort of microphone gain, which is more or less useless really. You've got noise cancellation here. It doesn't look like it's grayed out, but I can't do anything with it, so I can't move that slider at all. And there's no side tone. Side tone is grayed out. They've gone to the lengths of graying out the button for side tone, but yeah, it's still there. There is a noise gate, but it's not that impressive. I've played with this noise gate quite a bit, and it just, I mean, if you need a noise gate, I suppose that will work fine for in-game chat, but yeah, compared to a proper noise gate where I can fiddle with, like in OBS, for example, not very good. There is also some voice enhancer options here, which also sound terrible. Here is warm, and here is clear. I'm sorry if you are listening to this in headphones. I know exactly how bad clear sounds. Warm sounds like a muddy mess, and off, that's the natural sound of this microphone. And that's my biggest disappointment about this. One of the things I have praised most often, let me get rid of that software, it's very distracting, isn't it? Is the sound of Sennheiser's microphones. That's why I loved the Game 1 and Game 0 so much. They had by far, and I mean by a very large margin, the absolute best sounding microphones I'd ever experienced on a headset mic, especially one marketed and sold to gamers. There was a little bit of a step backwards with this. For the sake of comparison, you are now listening to the microphone on these. I do have them plugged in at the moment, but that's plugged into power because these things have been sitting on a shelf for a while and they discharged. But we are connected wirelessly for an apples to apples kind of comparison to the microphone on these. And it still doesn't sound as good as I wanted it to, but at least I have side tones so I can hear myself through these. These are also much heavier and much tighter on the head than the three. In typical Sennheiser fashion, the microphone mutes when you flip it up. There is no dedicated mute switch, and it does so fairly silently. So I'm going to keep waffling here while I mute it so you can hear what it sounds like when it goes mute. And I wonder if you guys heard a click or any handling noise when I did that, because that's my big problem. I like being able to just go flip it up to mute, but if you have to touch the microphone and physically move it on a mechanical sort of, gimbal kind of thing, how much noise does that introduce into the microphone, and are people hearing that on the other end is always my problem with that. But you've just heard for yourself the situation with this one, so you tell me what you thought of that action. On the other side here, we've got a volume knob, which has a very soft kind of clickiness to it, so you have little stops on it, which I quite like. The on and off button is the teeny tiniest stupid little switch I've ever come across, and to operate you've always got to fumble around with it and try and find it, and it's just put a decent switch on there. On these ones there was a nice low profile switch, but it was easy to use because it had a big knurling on it. You could feel it. It was push and hold to turn it on and off. This one's just a very, very basic little toggle switch, and it's too teeny tiny and fiddly. It's just a weird exception to the genuinely excellent design and build quality of a Sennheiser headset. Charging is done over micro USB. Sennheiser, I don't know if you noticed, but the entire world has started using this thing called USB-C. So it's been around for a few years now. It's extremely convenient, handy, nice. You could even charge these things faster using that because it has a broader power availability spectrum to it. So I don't know what's holding you back from using USB-C, but you damn well should. On the subject of battery though, that's one area where I will praise these headphones to the high heavens. They say on the box up to 100 hours of listening time per charge. That's something that's difficult to test unless I have a stopwatch with me every time I use them, but it certainly seems to stand up, and I have no reason to doubt Sennheiser on this because all of their headsets have easily sort of done what they say they do on the box when it comes to battery life. It might be a little bit less, it might be a little bit more, depending on where your volume levels are and your activity and all that sort of stuff, but that's fine. Signal strength hasn't been an issue either. The dongle that comes with, they come with a little dedicated dongle. That's one other thing that these don't do, that these do, by the way. These have the ability to use Bluetooth. These don't. But the dedicated dongle that comes with these, by the way, you don't want to use Bluetooth for regular gaming. That's just for when you want to use them with your phone or whatnot. But yeah, the dongle that comes with these is larger than the one that comes with the 670s, and I've had no problem with range, with clarity, with detail, with you know, there's been no issues basically. But yeah, the reason these are kind of the first Sennheiser headsets I don't feel good about recommending uh, is because of the features they cut. There's no side tone to the microphone. That's unacceptable when you've got full isolation ear cups. I need to be able to hear that mic when I want to be able to hear it, so I can. The general quality of the microphone itself is well below what I was expecting from Sennheiser. The software hasn't been properly updated to reflect the feature set of these. I'm seeing options in the software that I can't use on the headset, and that's confusing for a start if you don't know better, and most users won't know better. I knew better because I had a spec sheet that I was checking out. I said, oh, the noise cancellation is on the software. I thought these didn't have noise cancellation, so I went to fiddle with it and got frustrated. Oh, no, they don't, but it's still there on the software. Side tone is just sitting there going, ha, here's a button for side tone, but you don't have it. Even this stuff is just the most basic equalizer you will ever find from a headset. And again, this is from Sennheiser of all people. They're world-renowned experts in all things audio. They've been doing this longer than almost anyone else on the planet. They've been doing it better than anyone else on the planet for God knows how long. And this is just the most dirt basics. I mean, again, when these came out and I saw the software, I went, oh, nice starting point. But they haven't done anything with it since. At all. There's been a few updates for firmware and things like that to sort out a few glitches with the 670s, which I never hit, so I never mentioned in my original review. But yeah, the software is... I'm just a bit frustrated. Try again, Sennheiser. Give me a Mark II on these. Much better mic. Side tone. Fix your software. Either give me noise cancellation or remove it from the software. But this just feels like, we need something in that price point. Push it out, rush it out the door. It doesn't feel like a typical bespoke Sennheiser item. So thank you for watching. I am Blunty. Once again, I remind you to do the things that help with the algorithm, the ding dong, the subscribe, the thumb, the comments, there's a Patreon there if you like it, and a special thank you to these people scrolling by up above my head, my lovely patrons who have gone above and beyond. Thank you ever so much for that. And I will catch you next time.